Hello and welcome to Gunnar Weiskamp's web development. We are on to lesson 4 and looking at in MVC here. We will be creating a partial view and more. So first of all, we will be looking at creating a partial view for our app. A partial view can be used to create a common piece of code which can be mapped into different areas. So the example we'll be doing is we're creating two web forms, a book sales, a book buying view, and a concert ticket buying view. Both of those web pages will use one common piece of code, which will be a credit card view. So, good example. B will talk about data annotations a little bit more, and this one will be using the data type and this display format of the data annotations area in a date example. It's very good for date, that sort of functionality. C, talking about adding custom styling via the use of the HTML attributes to our app. So, yeah. Right. Yeah, so if you want to create the app that I'm doing, just look at the picture here in front of you. I'm using 2015 Community Edition. So file, new project as described there in A. Then make sure you have the same framework selected in the next window. Make sure that the web is selected and make sure you select ASP.NET Web Application. Whoops, sorry, technical issue. If I click, the slide goes. So anyway, sorry, make sure you've got all these items selected in B. Then once B is done, in C, make sure you've done selected the empty and the MVC here one. So we want an empty MVC app and press OK. So that will save you and I some time because my machine takes a while to load up the app, as I've learnt. Okay. So we've created already some code over here, but that's going to help us out. But sorry, this is what you should now see, an empty MVC app. So first we will add a model in. Well, we're actually going to add 3 in. And a model is just a representation of data in MVC, as mentioned before. And we'll call this books model. Just gotta, oops, whoa, it's not liking that. Just gotta check something. Yep. Okay, and oops. Concert ticket model will be the next one. So add another model. This one will be called concert tickets model. And the last one will be called the credit card model, of course. So it makes sense if you think about it. Right. Credit card model. Right, so there we have all our models. Now let's go and whoops, no, didn't want that. Right, let's go grab the code. We are in the credit card model here. So to help out, well, first of all, we're going to have to make sure that namespace there, system.component model.data annotations, which is for data annotations. So that goes in here. Oh, oops, we didn't seem to have copied it. Okay, finally computer responds. Okay, we didn't seem to have copied it. Alright, this time. Thank you. Okay, using system.componentModel.data annotations. There we go, so he's all set. Concept ticket models, let's already put him in as well. System component model dot data annotations. Ta-da! And let's go grab that code. Concept tickets model. Right, so that's the information there. We'll talk about the data annotations briefly in a minute. System.componentModel.data annotations. And yes, this is our book model for those that like reading. Okay, come on over. Okay, righto. So let's start with our credit card model. Again, so these are our data annotations. These are little attributes which you add to your data field that you're showing. So obviously, so we'll be showing on our screen what is called the expiry date of a credit card, and these attributes will apply to this expiry date. What are these attributes? So first of all, the data type will force the information in there to be a date. It transforms more or less this into an input field, a HTML input field of type date. With this in combination, it will apply a certain format on the data that is entered in there. As we'll see, you can change that data format to a certain different format if you want. Yeah, so you'll see it's pretty cool what happens once it comes up. What is added will be a date picker all automatically, so that helps with user entry. But we'll talk about that when that comes up. So that's our credit card. I've added in here a sort of new data annotation just to sort of show you how that's going to work, and that's an email address data annotation. So that forces you to put in a valid email. As I mentioned briefly in past, data annotations can be quite powerful. We've got a range one in here which we have talked about before, and just briefly, they're all kept in this namespace. The books model, it's nothing new there, so it's no use really talking about that too long. Just required data annotation, which makes this book name field required to enter. But we have actually talked about that one before, so let's not go over old news too much. Right, so the app is saving extremely quickly. Come on. Next we will be adding our controller in this, and then add some views to that as well. Okay, so add controller, just click empty, home, adding that one in. While that's going on there, let's grab the code for that controller over here. Okay, we'll grab all my hits. Oh, I should have mentioned, yes, possibly something new that I haven't done in a tutorial before is a specific little piece of code. It's called the form collection, and then it's pretty useful, but we'll talk about that a little bit soon. It's very useful to pass information around. We've got to introduce the namespace. Oops. View models, so that calls in our book model, or what have we called it? In this case, we called it books model. Did it with an S. Are we all kosher with the rest of it? Concert tickets models coming up. That looks cool. Everything is happy with the world. So, first piece of code, we're just going to show a view in a moment. We'll add the view for that, and that's just going to return a book object back to that view. This is the post action for the books, and so yeah, I will mention here the form collection object. This will grab all the items off the page. You don't have to pass in a certain class here for that to happen, so that's very useful because we're going to have two classes in one area in a sense, because we'll have this partial view and we'll have a normal view as well. And then to reference information out of a collection, we've got this info object here, you call the fields of the class that you're looking at. So this is coming from our model books, so that author is coming from here, and so that ends up in this guy, which ends up in this string here. So that is the same action for all these items here, and then after that we're just going to put everything together in one string, redirect to a thank you page, and display those items on the screen. Obviously in here you'd do some database processing, and obviously do a credit card payment. But this is just for demonstration purposes. The thank you action, as we've mentioned, is called here, and that just uses a view bag, a dynamic object, to display a string on the screen. Concept works from the code base here in exactly the same fashion as the books. So exactly the same. I've just introduced this model state valid here, but don't worry about that too much. So it really just works in the same action as the books class. Again, redirects to a thank you page. More importantly, let's add a partial view, which is the main concept of this lesson. Now, to add a partial view, we're going to add a new folder and call it shared, because you would normally put all your partial views in a shared folder, because it's a resource designed for, well, the logic is that you want to use it in different parts of your area. I'm just going to find out what I called it in mine, because I want to try to keep things in sync. We called it the credit card CSHTML file, and there's the code for it. Cool. So credit card. Okay. We will be grabbing the code from it as well to make things a lot quicker. So we go in here, click add, view, and normally with partial views is you start them with the character there. So it's easier to identify credit card. But oh god, I've already forgotten, sorry. Yeah, credit, oh god, credit card, okay. So that's our name of our partial view. We won't be using a layout page obviously, but we are creating as a partial view. We are wiring up a model to it, and to do that, oops, I forgot, so that everybody can see our models, we have to build it first. I always forget that. Not always, but, well, sometimes. Build started. So once this builds, that view process can see the new models here that we've created, and we can wire these models into our views. So while that's doing that, maybe we can do some other magic. Yeah, I want to grab the credit card code. Right, here we go. Is it built? Oh, is it done? Oh, no, it's still going. Okay. It's at line 30. Okay, I don't know if that means it's line 30 or just line 30, sorry, bad joke. Yeah, so once it's built, we'll add our partial credit card view, and then we're going to wire this partial view into the views representing the books here and the concerts here. So I guess we still have to create the views for those two objects. And the end result, both the books view and the concepts view will be using the same credit card partial view. And obviously, by doing that sort of process, you don't have to always reinvent certain code that you need, and it makes it a lot easier. So build succeed, right, let's do it. Add view. Oh, sorry. What am I doing? Create. Yeah, we want to create. So obviously we've got a choice here. We've got lots of models in there. But for this one, sorry, I'm all over. It has been a bit of a long day. We want a credit card. We're making it a partial view credit card. And sorry, again, we've got to give it a proper name. Credit card. Because, yeah, you can't just call it index or view. You want people to understand what that partial view. It makes it easier for other people to reuse it later on. So finally, we've got it all set. Sorry, tick that as create as a partial view. Very important, that one there. And make sure the rest are fixed up like that. Let's click add. But I would highly recommend these sort of processes, creating code which you can reuse in other areas without changing it, like a credit card interface. For me, it's a no-brainer at all. Okay, so there, it's already done all our magic. We didn't need some of that code, but I believe, because, yeah, we didn't need some of that. I'll try to explain as simply as possible, because I have deleted some out of that just because we don't need it. Just to make sure everything's kosher. Yeah, so what really all we're going to take out when we paste is this area here, begin form, the anti-forgery token. So when I paste in my new code, that'll disappear. Don't worry about this guy here. This disappears. Why? Because the partial view, this code here is just a subset of the overall books model. So this guy here should have the HTML begin form, and its HTML begin form will wrap around this credit card's partial view, and obviously it doesn't need its own submit button. Yeah, because we don't want two submit buttons on the page, which will happen when we add the views for the other two areas. Anyway, sorry, I'm just rambling here a little bit. So let's get rid of all of this. I'll close this one down so we've got more room on the screen. We can get rid of this guy as well. And now just paste in our copied code there. What do we got here? What's that? So I'll keep that nice and steady so you can see what I've put in here. Yeah, so that in a nutshell. I don't think we even need this line of code. But hey, well, no, yeah, I'm 99% sure. But let's just keep that in there anyway. It worked on my other demo, so that's good. So there's our partial view, and he's going to be used in different areas. Let's go back into our home controller, because we've got to create the views for these guys now. So add view. We'll just call it books, and this is going to be create. Well, yeah, that's true, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Could be create or details, but sorry, I'm just fumbling there. It's not going to be a partial view, obviously. We're not going to reference anything like that, so have it set like this, and click add. Just briefly after this guy's done, I'll show you a little technique on how you can find your views quick. Let's just go in the home controller here. Now, sometimes you might see some code and you're wondering, oh my god, you know, it's a huge application. Where is the view for that guy? It happens to me a lot. If you're fortunate enough, you can do this technique. Right click and add view. When clicking on this, it'll take you directly to the associated view. No, oops, what did I just press? Never works when you demonstrate, is it? Sorry, did I press add view? So go to view, press go to view, and ta-da! It obviously takes us to that view that we created. That can save you heaps of time when you've got, you know, hundreds of views to look at in your folders over here and not knowing where it is. You can do it in seconds. Right, so here we have our view. Now we're going to stick in our credit card partial view in 2 seconds. But before we do that, why don't we finish off our other views for our concert tickets, which is this guy here. So we'll add a view for him as well. And just like the last guy, the only difference is make sure you've got your concert tickets model associated with this guy. So that's coming up. Right, and there's our concert tickets guy. So before I discuss the code a little bit, I'm going to grab the code from here. What am I looking for? This guy here, because our snippet is here. Sorry, I'll pick the concert ticket view to play around. Both of the views we've created needs this little bit of code. See, let's just put it over there and discuss it in the relevant app all together. So, oops. So here. Let's do the same for books. Before the submit button. And press save, save all. So what have we done here? So this is our partial view. Our HTML helper here, you've got a call. He's called partial. You then introduce the partial view name that you've put in, which is over here. As we can see, you have to call the correct model for that one because you've got to pass it its model, which in our case is that credit card model. And that's as simple as it gets, really, which is that's why I'm saying it's a very easy technique to put in, muck around with, and use. So, yeah, gotta love it, don't you? Let's just go briefly back to the concert ticket one, because did I copy this code over? I'm looking for something in particular here that I wanted also to talk about. So if we go up to here, I'm going to grab, yeah, because I want to talk about this guy here. So I'm going to grab all this code here from our begin form. Yep. So we're back here in our concert CSHTML. Let's delete this all out. So and let's paste. I haven't done this technique to the books because, well, it's more demonstrational what I'm trying to explain here. So here we have a text box, HTML text box. This is somewhat different than the editor for guy. He has no bearing on the logic really of entering information for a concert. I've just put him in there to demonstrate how you can style certain attributes still in MVC here, and then in this case it's a text box. The techniques are quite simple. In this case, we're entering the text box ID here. So this is the ID parameter. Here we're putting in the default value that's going to appear in this text box, and using this parameter here, we're going to say we're passing attributes to it. So it's going to have a required max length that you can only put 50 characters in it. It's going to be 40 pixels long. And you can add styling in here. The background of it is going to be red. Background color of it's going to be red. So that's when we talk about adding HTML attributes dynamically in your MVC views. I've also made a special little change here to one of the ones in the editor for text box, because you might be wondering, how can I, yeah, that's all good and well, but how can I change one where I've got a model or the editor for model approach to it? All you do is you add the attribute in here with a special, character, the @ symbol, style, background color. You could put in, let me, if you wanted to add an ID for that guy, and you type that in and call this concert name. So, etc., etc. And then all those attributes will be rendered on the screen. But we'll see that in action in 2 seconds. Because I think, do I dare say it? Yeah, that's it. We're all ready to build. So again, the big part of this was talking about partial views. It's pretty simple to implement. I'm hoping it is for you. You just add your partial view in here in the shared folder, and that's just a normal HTML file. You put in the code that you want, you bind it with any model data that you need, but just make sure, I'll repeat, that there's no HTML begin form, because these are not, they can be used to submit information if you want, technically, but in this sort of demonstration, yeah, definitely not. So we want, when using this sort of partial view, we just want one HTML begin form, because we want to post all this information in one go. So yeah, you use this tag, put the partial view name there, reference the model that you need. So this is the credit card model that we have in here, and just make sure, technically I don't think you have to either, but I think it's a good idea to have them in a shared folder. So that's it. So now if we bring up the application, it's been running, there we go. So here we are, we've got the concept one up, and I wanted to demonstrate that because if you notice here, this all the red, please enter my name. Let's bring up the concept HTML and have it, can we have it side by side? If you look at this, please enter your name. Look here in the code, please enter a name. This is where it's coming from. All the attributes here is where it's coming from as well. It's this long, this is 40, that's a size 40, and here background color red, so you can see it's red. So that's how that magic happens there. If we looked behind the source, you'd see its name was ID.txt name. Same for our concept name, which is here. So this guy here, concept name, the editor for HtmlAttributes, you can see we've done its background red just for this one, and we can see that's come across here, background color red. So that's the magic of that. Now, and of course the main thing is, here's our credit card model, our partial view. I will map this over to here. Oops, daisy. What have I done? No. Oops, if I could type. Well, that's building. Let's talk a little bit more about this. Here in our data annotations, if I can find him. That's there. Yeah, okay, let's bring the code up. So, as I talked about, this expiry date data annotations is quite cool to use. All this magic here, you see a date time picker comes up, and you can pick a date, and voila, all happens magically for you. And that is all done by this magic here, this code here. So when using dates, yeah, I find these sort of techniques good. The only thing is you might have to style the date time picker to your corporate needs or something like that, and that's when it can get a bit finicky. But for so little code to get all this up and going is extremely good, especially when it comes with date formats. So that's, I wanted to point out that data annotation. But so here we have this partial view rendering. Let's see if it's in the books area. Oh, no. Oh, that's not good. Oh, book, yay. For a moment there. So here's our book model. And you can see it's completely different. Book name, author. So you have here two views. Let's have them side by side. So great examples. Two different views, book name, author, but they share this guy here, the credit card model view. Voila, and that makes coding a lot quicker and a lot easier to handle. So just to see, I did want to. We should see an error message come up. Well, we should have, but we didn't. I was expecting some. Oh, sorry. So I wanted to demonstrate this email validation issue. So there is now an error message should come up. Yay! Because in our concert tickets model, we have this email address guy, and that's what's doing all the magic there. So, oops, wrong one. Oops, whoa. So yeah, this email address here that error message you saw there, this guy, the error message comes up, is, whoa, is all being done in the magic of this guy here, this data annotation attribute. Okay, so now if we enter a venue, Brisbane, because that's where I'm from, sorry, not, that's concept name. Alright, okay, U2, everybody likes U2, no, not US, U2. Terrible, everybody likes U2, so that's the concept name. We're going to go see venue address, Brisbane, username, me, and a proper email address now at hotmail.com. And notice this is also because of our data annotation thing. 2 tickets and card number. We haven't got any major validation on this. Obviously you'd have sophisticated normal credit card validation, so we can just put in for that me, that's the card holder name. We've already got a date in there. We press create, and as I mentioned in our home controller here, all we're doing, so this is the concept view, is this guy here. Let's bring up our code again. So yeah, so all we're doing is redirecting to this thank you action, which is up here in this code here, and we're just pumping out the details of that user here. This is done via the great thing of the form collection. The form collection allows us to get everything out of that guy, and that's including the card holder view, the partial view, the credit card view, partial view, and the concept model. So all our information comes across correctly. Yeah, so obviously in here you do something more and you wouldn't pass that sort of maybe thank you message, you'd have a more appropriate one. I just wanted to show you that the information comes across via this form collection. So that was the aim of that process. Yeah, gets pumped in here and gets put out there. Right, yeah, so that's just about it. Again, partial views, I just think they're fantastic because it's all about creating common code which A, is tested thoroughly once but can be used a number of times, and that sort of process, oh god, sorry, I won't go on about it, but it's fantastic. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I've had a good time bringing it to you. Feel free to visit my website there, and I hope you have a good day still. Alright, thank you, bye.